Hello. Today we are going to have a session on the two major disasters or two major natural disasters which are causing tremendous effect on our earth, that is the earthquake and tsunami. And tsunami is of course an after effect of an earthquake which is occurring under the sea. This session contains the comprehensive study on the earthquakes and the tsunamis as well as their case studies. So earthquake is also known as the quake, tremor, and it is a phenomenon where there is a sudden release in extreme energy from the earth crust, result in shaking and displacement of the ground along with the creation of a seismic waves. It is one of the most worst natural disasters or natural hazard which often turn into a disaster causing widespread destruction and loss of human life. If the epicenter or the point of formation of the seismic wave of a large earthquake is situated in the offshore region, or that is beneath a sea, it may displace a sufficient amount of water to cause a tsunami. So tsunamis are an after effects of an undersea earthquake. It also triggers landslides and occasional volcanic eruptions. The earthquakes is not only destructive in the ways of earthquake, it also triggers other natural disasters. So for a better understanding, there is a figure on the left side of this presentation. When a stone is thrown into a pool of water, a series of waves spreads through the water in all directions. Similarly, when a rock are suddenly disturbed, vibration spreads out in all directions from the source of the disturbance. So an earthquake is the passage of these vibrations. So let's look into the terms associated with an earthquake. The first and foremost term is a focus or a hypocenter. The focus or a hypocenter of the earthquake is where the earthquake originated from. It may be a fault zone, it may be some other, it may be a landslide, it may be a volcanic eruption, anything. So it's the point from which the earthquake occurs. The second one is the epicenter. The epicenter of an earthquake is the point directly above the epicenter on the surface of the earth. As you can see in the figure, the hypocenter or the focus is a fault line, as well as the epicenter is a point directly above the hypocenter on the surface of the earth. The next one is a fault. It is a planar or a discontinuity in the volume of rock across which there has been a relatively displacement as a result of the rock mass movement. There is one more term which is associated with the fault. It is a fault plane. It is a plane that represents the fracture surface of a fault. So, or a fault trace. The next term associated with an earthquake is the fault trace or a fault line. It is a place where the fault can be seen or mapped on a surface. So all these will be the causes or will act as a cause for the earthquake. So the next one is an isoseismal line. It is a contour or a line in a map which connects the points having or experiencing the earthquakes of equal intensity. So what are all the causes of the earthquakes? So there are mainly two types of causes. The first one is a natural cause and second is of course a man-made cause. The natural causes can be broadly divided into two broad heads. The first one is, or the most important one is, the tectonic earthquakes. The earthquakes which are caused by the plate tectonic movements are called the tectonic quakes. They account for the most earthquakes worldwide and usually occur at boundaries of the tectonic plates. So you may be wondering what's a plate tectonics. According to plate tectonics, the upper part of the earth is divided into several lithospheric plates, and the movement of these lithospheric plates will be causing all the natural phenomenon that is occurring around the or occurring in the world. The next probable cause for an earthquake is an volcanism. And most probably the volcanic rocks are associated with the active volcanism where they erupt huge quantities of rocks and lava. They are generally not as powerful as a tectonic earthquakes and often occur very relative near the surface. Consequently, they are usually only felt in the vicinity of the hypocenter or the focus of the origin. The next one are the man-made earthquake, or in other terms it is known as the induced earthquake. While most of the earthquakes we discussed are caused by the movement of earth tectonic plates, human activity also produces earthquakes. Activities both above the ground and below the ground may change the stress and strain of the crust, including building a reservoir, extracting resources such as coal and oil from the earth, and injecting fluids underground for the waste disposal or some other kind of nuclear testing. Or most of these earthquakes have been of small magnitude. For example, the 5.7 magnitude Oklahoma earthquakes in 2001 is thought to have been caused by disposing wastewater from the oil producing and injecting into the wells. The Koina earthquake of 1967, which has got a magnitude of 6.3, occurred on the Koina Dam in the Western Indian state of Maharashtra, which almost killed 180 people and injured more than 1,500 to 2,000. So it is believed to have occurred due to the added pressure of the water reservoir which is present in the Koina.
So the next part is how do you measure earthquake? There are actually two terms. First one is a magnitude and second one is a intensity. The magnitude is the most common measure of an earthquake size. It is a measure of the size of the earthquake source and it's the same number no matter where you are shaking feels like. So the magnitude of earthquakes is nothing but the energy released during the event. And the second one is the intensity. It is a measure of the shaking and damage by the earthquake, and this value changes from location to location. So, for a better understanding, the magnitude is only depending on the energy released, and the intensity is depending on the damage caused. So, consider there are two earthquakes which have happened in place A, which is a highly populated area, and a place B, which is a deserted area. So a earthquake of same magnitude of 6 or 7 is happening in these two areas. So in Richter scale or in seismograph, the magnitude of the earthquake is 6 in both these areas, but the intensity changes. As the area A is have a high population, so there will be loss of damages and loss of life. So the intensity of the earthquake at A will be higher than that of B. As you have here, the Richter scale measures the magnitude of the earthquake and it measures using a machine called the seismometer, which produces the seismograph. A Richter scale is normally numbered from 1 to 12. There is no upper limit. It is a logarithmic, which means that an earthquake measuring a magnitude 5 is 10 times powerful than a earthquake of magnitude 4. And earthquakes measuring 1 or 2 on the scale happen very regularly and they are so small that or the people cannot feel them. And the intensity of the earthquake shaking at any location is determined not only by the magnitude of the earthquake and its distance, but also by the type of underlying rock or the unconsolidated materials. The intensity of the earthquake is generally given in the moment Mercalli scale, and based on the magnitude of the earthquakes can be divided into 6. If the earthquake is having magnitude of 8, more than or more equals or more than 8, it is known as a great earthquake. Where if the magnitude is less than 1, it is a ultra micro earthquakes. Also, the entire India is divided into different zones based on the seismic activity. There is zone 2, this is said to be the least active, and zone 5, which is a high seismic zone. So this is the earthquake zonation map of India, where as you can see the high density or the areas which are very prone to earthquakes are the entire northeast India, some part of Jammu and Kashmir, parts of Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Rann of Kutch in Gujarat, and some parts of North Bihar. So is this the earthquakes are predictable? Of course, they are not. It's a natural phenomenon. It's not predictable, but there are certain evidence that comes up before the earthquakes. There is a fall in water level. The animals will be behaving unusually. There is large level fluctuation in oil flow from oil wells. There will be a temperature changes. There will be some upliftment or a subsidence of the earth surface. There will be some foreshocks or some minor shocks before the major earthquake. So these all are the predictions that can be done before an earthquake, but these are not accurate and there is no rule that these predictions or these precursors should be before a major earthquake. So actually there is no clear-cut prediction for an earthquake. So what about the effect of earthquake? So it is a very catastrophic event, so that the entire area will be destructed. There will be structural damage, road rails, there will be landslides, avalanches, and tsunamis will be triggered as an after effects of an earthquake. There will be fire, there will be sometimes the rivers will alter their course, tremendous loss of life and property, damage to transport system. The effects of an earthquake is so severe that it will destroy all the things which are above the ground. So we are taking a case study from the Bhuj earthquakes which occurred in the 26th January of 2011. On the morning of 15th second Republic Day of our country, a devastating earthquake occurred in the Kutch district of the state of Gujarat. The earthquake was felt far away as Delhi in the north and Kolkata in the east. And Bhuj is a small town and a village in the Gujarat, and it is 60 kilometers east of the Bhuj, where the worst affected, and the many areas of Gujarat, including the state headquarters Ahmedabad, were badly affected by this earthquake. There were approximately 20,000 deaths and around 150,000 people were injured. And the four districts of Gujarat lay in ruin, and altogether 21 districts were affected by this particular earthquakes, and around 3 lakh families and at least 3 million children under the age 14 were affected by this earthquake. And the earthquake, after effects of an earthquake was around 6 lakh people were left homeless. And in the city of Bhuj alone, around 3,000 people have lost their lives. The main hospital was crushed, and close to 90% of the building in the city was collapsed or destroyed. So these are the some major earthquakes that occurred in India. I have listed only some, and for your understanding, there are 3 million earthquakes which are occurring around the world in India. That is 8,000 earthquakes per day. So most of the earthquakes we are not felting the earthquake because its magnitude is very less. As you can see here, it's a world map which shows the major earthquakes, and as there are a lot of earthquake which is happening in the banks of the Pacific Ocean, which is known as the Ring of Fire. And actually, this Ring of Fire is where majority of the world's earthquakes are happening. The next natural disaster is a tsunami. Most of us have heard this tsunami only after the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. A tsunami is a series of waves, sometimes reaching a height of over 100 feet in the water body, caused by the displacement of a large volume of water, generally in a ocean or a large lake, can cause, and which can cause a widespread destruction when they crash ashore. So, what are the cause of these tsunamis? As I have mentioned earlier, these waves are typically caused by large undersea earthquakes at the tectonic plate boundaries, or may be caused by some undersea volcanic eruptions. When the ocean floor at a plate boundary rises or falls suddenly, it displaces the water above it and launches the rolling wave that will become a tsunami. And most tsunami, that is about 80% happens within the Pacific Ocean in the zone Ring of Fire. And the tsunamis may also caused by the undersea landslides or a volcanic eruption. Tsunami can attain a speed up to 500 miles per hour. So it is as speed as a jet aeroplane can attain. So at that place, they can cross the entire expanse of the Pacific Ocean in just less than a day. On the deep oceans, tsunami waves maybe appear only a foot or so, something like high, but as they approaches the shoreline or the water gets shallower, they begin to slow down and begin to grow in energy and height. The tops of the wave move more faster than their bottoms. And I mentioned earlier, it's a wave of higher wavelength. A tsunami trough, the low point beneath the wave crest, often reaches the shore first. When it does, it produces a vacuum effect that sucks the coastal water seawards and exposes the harbor and the seafloor. This retreating of the seawater is an important warning sign of a tsunami, because the wave crest and its enormous volume of water typically hits shores around 5 minutes or so later. So recognizing this phenomenon can save a lot of life. And for your understanding, a tsunami is usually composed of a series of waves called the wave train. So it is destructive force may be compounded as successive. So it is not only a one wave, it consists of a combination of several waves. So one of the most destructive natural disasters ever recorded in the history of our Earth was the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami is also known as the Boxing Day tsunami, and it is caused due to the Sumatra earthquakes which occurred in the Indonesia. As you can see in the figure, how a earthquakes or how a tsunami waves can propagate from the or a earthquake origin, and it was covered in Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and all those things. It has all almost covered the entire Indian Ocean, and it occurred around 8 p.m. in the morning in the local time morning, and with the epicenter of the west coast of the northern Sumatra, and it was registered a magnitude of 9.1 to 9.3, reaching a Mercalli scale intensity up to 9. So the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami is believed or estimated to kill more than 2 lakh people in around 14 countries, which makes it one of the deadliest natural disasters recorded in the history of the planet. And these have been the deaths has been reported from Indonesia, Sri Lanka, Tamil Nadu in India, Thailand. There are so many other countries, and the earthquakes were the third largest ever recorded earthquakes and has the longest duration of the faulting ever observed, and it causes the planet to vibrate as much as 10 millimeter, and also remotely triggered earthquakes as far away as Alaska. So you can think about the intensity of that earthquake. So with this, I am just winding up my lessons. If you are having any doubts, please feel to contact me. Thank you. Have a nice day.